Concrete is the most used material in the world. It's used widely because it's really cheap, it's really fast, and we know how to use it. In 2022, aviation accounted for 2% of global carbon emissions. Concrete and cement was 8%. It's really bad for the environment because a really key ingredient is cement, and cement is extremely carbon intensive. It involves heating limestone and other ingredients up to 1500 degrees Celsius. And then when we heat that limestone, that also releases CO2 into the atmosphere. All of that added together is responsible for about 90% of the emissions associated with concrete, and that's just for this one ingredient. It's important that we consider building materials when we're talking about decarbonization because of how big of an impact the building materials we're using currently have on our carbon emissions and how much we still have to build. We're in a housing crisis. We know we're going to need to do a lot of development over the coming years to build the millions of homes. Can we do that in a way that's more environmentally friendly than our current status quo?
My name is Zach Zandona. I'm an acting program manager with the Environment and Climate Division of the City of Toronto. So the city likes to lead by example. When it comes to the Toronto Green Standard, all of our buildings are required to be net zero now. And one way in order to meet those embodied carbon caps is to reduce emissions from concrete. The first solution that the city would usually take is to reduce the amount of concrete you're using. And then you can go to solutions that reduce the amount of cement that you're using. My team is working with the transportation group on possibly speccing in low carbon concrete for some bus pads, sidewalks, and curbs. We are still in the very early stages of doing so. But what we would do is spec in that concrete, make sure the provider is able to provide it, and then they have to prove that they are providing what we spec'd in. And so if we get them comfortable with something like that, then we can move on to something more substantial, more structural, perhaps something to do with bridges or sewer mains. So based on our pilot projects, we can learn from them, and then based on that, we can come up with a policy. Typically with our green standard, other municipalities, especially in the GTA, follow our standard. If we can prove that we can do it, I think a lot of other municipalities will go ahead and do the same.
A lot of companies are looking at the material itself and asking, can we replace this with something different? So a lot of folks are talking about mass timber these days. That's a huge industry that's growing. Others are looking at, can we get smarter about how we use this material? Can we maybe use less of it? And then there's a group of companies that are actually looking at how we can reduce the carbon intensity of concrete and cement specifically.
My name is Jacob Homiller. I'm the CEO of Carbicrete. So Carbicrete is a climate tech company. So we manufacture concrete blocks with our technology that don't use cement. So our products are drop-in replacements for concrete cinder blocks, paving stones, turf stone products, retaining wall elements, all those hardscape products that you might see in a residential application or in a light commercial application. So what our process and technology does is we avoid the production of cement. We use a waste product from steel to replace cement. And really kind of where the secret sauce of the Carbicrete process is at the back end. So we cure our products with CO2. So we put them into a curing chamber, shut the door, fill it with CO2, and then the CO2 is absorbed or it chemically reacts with the minerals in the steel slag. So we not only avoid CO2 from cement production, but we're actually sequestering CO2 permanently into the concrete products that we manufacture. Yeah, I mean, we're in discussions with some of the world's largest concrete product manufacturers. We're doing testing with them. We're talking with them about potential investments in Carbicrete. But being able to get some of the largest manufacturers to convert their facilities, that's the goal, and I think it's really achievable. It will take time because the industry moves a little bit slowly, but there's a lot of momentum from end users and customers towards sustainable building materials, and we're one part of that solution.
It's important to be supporting these kinds of companies when they're in their early stages, so that when a bigger developer or big builder comes knocking on their door asking for low carbon concrete, wanting to make a difference with their concrete project, these companies can actually meet that demand and provide what it is that's being asked for. In the next 10 to 20 years, we might see the concrete industry moving in a new direction. Hopefully recognizing that being the third or fourth largest emitter in the world, if it were a country, isn't sustainable. So hopefully we'll see the industry going smarter and less carbon intensive. So finding ways to optimize the use of concrete and then implementing these new technologies and really driving that positive impact.